In Warsaw, late October 1943, Irena Sendler and Janina Grabowska were enjoying a rare moment of peace in their war-torn city. But their laughter froze when they heard the Gestapo pounding on Sendler's door. Sendler rushed to the window to dispose of incriminating evidence, only to see more police patrolling below. Knowing she was minutes from arrest, she tossed Janina her most dangerous possession, a glass jar containing the names of over 2,000 Jewish children she'd smuggled to safety. This arrest wasn't the first consequence Sendler had faced in her lifelong crusade against anti-Semitism. Born to Catholic parents in 1910, she grew up in a predominantly Jewish town where her father treated poor Jewish patients other doctors refused to help. Irena was furious at the constant discrimination against her Jewish friends. As a graduate student in social welfare at the University of Warsaw, Sendler publicly denounced the segregation of classrooms and defaced her non-Jewish identity card, earning her a suspension and a reputation for troublemaking. Buoyed by her socialist ideals and inspired by her fellow social workers, Sendler assisted vulnerable Jewish families across Warsaw, pushing back on the waves of anti-Semitism surging through Europe.
Driving is dangerous. It's one of the things that we don't like to think about. But the fact that religious icons and good luck charms show up on dashboards around the world betrays the fact that we know this to be true. Car accidents are the leading cause of death in people ages 16 to 19 in the United States. Leading cause of death. And 75% of these accidents have nothing to do with drugs or alcohol. So what happens? No one can say for sure, but I remember my first accident. I was a young driver out on the highway, and the car in front of me, I saw the brake lights go on. I'm like, okay, all right, this guy's slowing down. I'll slow down too. Step on the brake. But no, this guy isn't slowing down. This guy is stopping. Dead stop on the highway. We're just going 65 to 0. I slammed on the brakes. I felt the ABS kick in, and the car is still going, and it's not going to stop. And I know it's not going to stop. And the airbag deploys, the car is totaled. And I fortunately, no one was hurt. But I had no idea that car was stopping. And I think we can do a lot better than that. I think we can transform the driving experience by letting our cars talk to each other.
The origins of jazz are as richly textured as the music itself. The term jazz really covers many different kinds of music. In the late 19th century, African Americans began performing the folk music known as the blues, whose origins lay in the work songs of slavery days. Within the African American community, the blues evolved into popular commercial music. In 1914, a black orchestra leader named W.C. Handy wrote the St. Louis Blues. Adapting the African American folk idiom to European conventions of orchestration and harmony, Handy produced a hit song. The St. Louis Blues was tremendously influential among black and white musicians, and Handy's style of music became famous under the name of jazz. Early jazz musicians were active in many cities and towns throughout the southern United States. It was New Orleans, with its long tradition of African American music, that was the home of many fathers of jazz. After World War I, the musicians of New Orleans joined the general northward migration of African Americans. The first great national center of jazz was Chicago. From there, the music entered the mainstream and even gave its name to the decade.
Archaeologists have found stone tools and cave sites 12 to 13,000 years old in the coastal Pacific Northwest. One find was a mastodon rib with a bony weapon in it, and now scientists at the Hakai Institute and the University of Victoria have made a spectacular discovery: clay soil trampled by human feet, the oldest footprints uncovered in North America. Researchers were digging several feet below a modern-day beach on British Columbia's Calvert Island, about 250 miles northwest of Vancouver, when they discovered the tracks. They found 29 in all. Some had toes, arches, and heel prints, indicating the people who left them were probably
Running a business means being a constant problem solver. Every day, it's something new, whether it's product development, distribution, creating content, or I don't know, deciding what to do during a pandemic. The trick isn't always knowing all the answers, but becoming adept at figuring them out. My entrepreneurial spirit comes from growing up in Latino neighborhoods in LA and being surrounded by so many people who are immigrants. It takes heart and ingenuity to move to a new country and rebuild your life. I grew up seeing firsthand so many examples of people getting creative with limited resources. Whether it was the pupusa lady outside, rain or shine, or my dad who started as a field worker and now owns his own restaurant. In 2017, I left my corporate job and used my entire life savings to launch Rizos Curls. Helping people embrace their natural hair texture has been my personal passion since I was a teenager. Learning to love my hair in its natural state was the first step to learning to love myself. Today, I'm running a self-funded, multi-million-dollar business that has been profitable since day one.
It's for Khalil I faced my torture in Germany in June 2020 and gave my testimony at the first trial on Syrian state of torture before a German court in Koblenz. It is for Amani and Khalid. I'm still the filmmaker today. They inspired me to create a new cinematic universe of superhero based on their quest to end injustice. Creating this cinematic universe has not been an easy journey. It's been a brutal struggle against racism and discrimination in the film industry. An industry dominated by people who think they know how the audience, how you want a film about Syrians to be, how you want superheroes or refugees to look. But refugees look just like me. So I will not stop. I owe it to my daughter, the young refugee child, to tell stories of superheroes who look just like her. For her, I will continue to resist.
What would the world look like if extreme climate change becomes reality? Well, here's just one example. If temperatures were to rise by 3 more degrees Celsius, Shanghai, a city of 24 million people in China, will be wiped off the map. And it's not just the only coastal city that's at risk of disappearing beneath rising sea levels. Globally, 2019 was the second hottest year on record. Cities all throughout the world experienced record-setting summer temperatures. In June 2019, temperatures in Churu, India, exceeded 120 degrees Fahrenheit, to the point that the government warned citizens to avoid drinking coffee, tea, and alcohol out of fear of overheating. Heat waves are becoming more severe and commonplace due to climate change, projected to lead to deaths at the same rate as all infectious diseases combined.
In an era of extreme polarization, it's really dangerous to talk about right and wrong. You can be targeted, judged for something you said 10 years ago, 10 months ago, 10 hours ago, 10 seconds ago. And that means that those who think you're wrong may burn you at the stake. Or those who are on your side, that think you're not sufficiently orthodox, may try and cancel you. As you're thinking about right and wrong, I want you to consider 3 ideas. What if right and wrong is something that changes over time? What if right and wrong is something that can change because of technology? What if technology is moving exponentially? So as you're thinking about this concept, remember, human sacrifice used to be normal and natural. It was a way of appeasing the gods. Otherwise, the rain wouldn't come. The sun wouldn't shine.
'Last week, we looked at urban regeneration and some of the consequences of this, one of which was the relocation of people from urban to suburban areas to largely allow them a better standard of living, because housing is cheaper in the suburbs, so they have more disposable income. But they have to commute, and commuters need rapid transport to get them from A to B. So subway construction is, well, it's booming in some parts of the world. It's clearly being seen as the answer to the type of migration that I've just mentioned. It often gets huge public support because, well, if a subway is going to help you have a better lifestyle, then what's there to argue about? Well, quite a lot, actually. For a start, in order to go ahead with a major project of this kind, you need to be absolutely sure that the ground, and more to the point, what lies beneath the ground, can support underground transport. And to address questions like that, engineers have to be really experienced, really knowledgeable about the local area, water levels, land formation, and so on. And those key issues are what I want to focus on today. Passengers don't think about construction. They trust other, better qualified people to do it for them. And governments have to choose these people very carefully.
– 75% of these accidents have nothing to do with drugs or alcohol.
Today, I'm running a self-funded, multi-million-dollar business that has been profitable since day one.
Early jazz musicians were active in many cities and towns throughout the southern United States.